My stepsister messed up my clothes when we had to share a room in our new house. I got really angry and attacked her. Then I told our parents that I'm the one who actually owns the house. So I'm a 17-year-old girl, and something I did recently has made everyone really mad at me. I'm currently living with just my dad because my mom had to go to LA for work. My parents got married when my mom was pregnant with me. She had never been married before and I'm her first child, but my dad had a daughter from a previous relationship. My stepsister, let's call her Dana, is 22 and she's always been annoying and entitled. We've never really gotten along. My dad never married Dana's mom, and they were only together for about a year when she got pregnant with Dana. They were already thinking about breaking up when Dana's mom found out she was pregnant, but they tried to make it work. Unfortunately, their relationship didn't last long, and they split up shortly after Dana was born. They did agree to share custody, so Dana spends time at both of her parents' houses. About 3 years after Dana was born, my dad met my mom at a conference and they started dating. 2 years later, they got married and had me. Even though my dad continued to raise Dana, she and I were never close. My dad tried to help us bond, but it just didn't happen. We weren't even friends. That's how it was when we were kids, and eventually my dad realized we weren't interested in being close, so he stopped trying. But I had a great relationship with my dad and enjoyed being with my parents when Dana wasn't around. I just didn't like it when she came over because she would try to steal all the attention. Since my dad only saw her on weekends, he paid more attention to her during those times, which made sense because she'd go back to her mom's soon after. I think there was some sibling rivalry going on, although Dana would never admit it. My dad was a good dad to me, and I have to give him credit for that. As we got older, I stopped caring about competing with Dana, but I don't think she ever grew out of that phase. Even when she went to college, she didn't stop her silly behavior and would try to put me down for attention. She would boast about the great college she got into, even though I was only 13 and not thinking about colleges. She'd brag about her grades and try to show off how smart she was, even though I was better than her at her age. Every time she came home for the holidays, she'd go on about how much fun she was having. I found it unnecessary and sometimes made fun of her, which annoyed her, and we'd end up in passive-aggressive fights. A few years ago, everything changed after Dana's mom passed away. It happened about a week before Dana was supposed to graduate. We found out she had died suddenly from a heart attack. It was really sad because she was still pretty young, not even 50 yet. Her lifestyle was stressful, and the doctor had warned her to get regular checkups, but she didn't listen. It was a shock because nobody knew she had been having heart problems for so long. This really affected Dana. After the funeral, something changed, but not in a good way. Sadly, because of the shock, Dana started binge eating and developed a disorder. At first, Dana's changes were subtle, but they became more noticeable over time. She was living with us at the time, and I was the one who told my dad that I was worried about her. I wasn't trying to make fun of her. I was genuinely concerned because she seemed out of control. So my dad and I did some research and decided it was time to talk to her about getting therapy because things needed to change. Dana wasn't happy about it at all. She blamed me, saying I just wanted attention and was trying to make her seem crazy. I really wish that was the case because then she wouldn't have an eating disorder, but sadly it wasn't true, and I wanted to help her. After a lot of talking, arguing, and negotiating, Dana finally agreed to get help. She had gained a lot of weight, and it was clear it wasn't healthy. So she started therapy, and although it took several months, we started to see improvements in her condition. By then, Dana had finished school and was feeling sad staying at home, which is normal after losing her mom. But after about a year, Dana decided to start looking for a job, and she found one pretty quickly. Even though we didn't always get along, she was smart and had good grades. She got hired fast, and within a few months, she moved out. That was just 6 months ago, and I thought she'd stay in her own place. But for some reason, she decided she wanted to move back in with us. I don't know why, especially when she could afford to live on her own. But she's unpredictable, and my dad has been extra protective of her since her mom died, so he said yes, without thinking too much about it. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, my parents and I moved out of our old house and into a new one we bought because we wanted something of our own and didn't want to rent anymore. We hadn't finished unpacking yet when my mom got a big job opportunity in LA and had to leave. She left within the first week, so my dad and I did all the unpacking ourselves. Our new house has 4 bedrooms. One was supposed to be mine, one for my parents, and the other 2 for guests. One of the guest rooms was meant for Dana, and the other for anyone else visiting. It's a pretty big house, but right now, we're using one of the guest rooms as a storage room, so it's not suitable for sleeping in. The other empty room doesn't even have a bed yet. Our old house came with furniture, so we didn't have to buy much. But this new one doesn't, and my parents have already spent a lot of money. So buying a bed for that room didn't seem necessary, especially since we didn't expect anyone to use it for a while. But then 2 weeks ago, my dad told me Dana would be moving in with us. He said I had to share my room with her because the other rooms weren't ready. I was really mad because I'm 17 and need my own space. Plus, I didn't want to share my room with Dana because I find her annoying and I've never liked her. I argued a lot with my dad and even tried to get my mom involved, but she said she was busy with work. She thought I was being petty because Dana had recently lost her mom and was trying to get back on her feet. So she said I should support her instead of rejecting her. My dad agreed and said it was my duty to make Dana feel welcome instead of acting like a brat. I didn't think I was acting like a brat at all. I felt like Dana was being entitled. I mean, she had a job and was earning her own money, so there was no reason she couldn't live on her own, at least until the other room was furnished. Or she could buy the bed herself and move into the other room. But she just wanted to move back in because she was lonely and saving up to quit her job and start her own thing. Right now, there are lots of small businesses for people of all ages. I even suggested Dana sleep on the couch, but she said it would hurt her back, especially since she's had back issues from her weight struggles. So I had to share my room with her, and there was no way out of it. The worst part? I had to sleep on the floor in my own room, and Dana seemed to be enjoying this. She moved in a week and a half ago, and it's been a nightmare. She's super annoying to live with and really messy. She talks loudly on the phone all the time, which makes it hard for me to study. I have to finish all my homework before she gets home. And when I come back from school, I only have a couple of hours of peace before she comes back. Plus, she made a mess of my room the day she moved in, and it's always messy no matter how much I clean it. I complained to my dad after dinner last week, but he said I had to deal with it because Dana was going through a tough time and we needed to support her as a family. He was right. I have my own problems, but at least my parents are alive. I don't know how she feels. Plus, she's still recovering from an eating disorder, which can't be easy, so I tried to be understanding. But 3 days ago, she really went too far and I couldn't handle it anymore, so I snapped 3 days ago. I left early in the morning to hang out at a friend's house and stayed there almost all day. When I got back in the evening, I was in a good mood because it was Saturday and I didn't have school the next day. But when I walked into my room, I found all my clothes on the floor. Most of them were stretched out or torn. I was shocked and couldn't understand why anyone would do this until Dana came in and told me she could explain. She said she had been trying on my clothes because she needed something nice to wear to a coworker's wedding next week. She couldn't find anything in her own stuff that still fit. She said it with a smile and looked smug because she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew all along and was just trying to mess with me. Even though she knew my clothes wouldn't fit her because I'm much smaller, she tried them on anyway. She did it on purpose to ruin them or tear them so they wouldn't fit me properly anymore. When I came back home and saw what she'd done, I was horrified. She laid them all out on the floor for me to see. For a couple of minutes, I didn't even know what to say. She just smiled at me while I stared at the mess she made. But then I lost my temper and did something I'm not proud of. I walked up to her and smacked her in the face. I was already feeling really stressed out, with everyone testing my patience by making me live with Dana and sleep on the floor of my own room just because her mom had passed away. After I smacked her, things escalated quickly because she was bigger than me. Soon enough, we were in a full-blown fight. I managed to scratch her a few times, but she pulled my hair. I was glad I got to hit her, even though I'm not proud of it. She deserved it. My dad heard us fighting and eventually broke us up. I thought he would ask what happened, but he didn't. He just started yelling at me about my behavior without even waiting for an explanation. He assumed it was all my fault. My dad told me I'd been acting like a spoiled brat since Dana moved in and said I needed to stop or he'd kick me out and send me to live with my grandparents. He thought I was being entitled and that I was being mean to Dana. He was saying all the right things, but to the wrong person. I was hurt and disappointed, so I didn't say anything while he yelled at me, and Dana seemed to enjoy it. It was really disappointing because I always thought my dad loved us both equally and wouldn't take sides. But now Dana was using her mom's passing and her eating disorder to make herself seem like the victim and get me in trouble. Let me remind you, she's 22 with a job, not some teenager with issues. She knows what she's doing, but I don't know why she's doing it. I was really hurt and upset. After my dad finished yelling at me, I grabbed my phone and stormed out of the house. No one tried to stop me because they knew I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I'd be back soon anyway. And they were right. I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I decided to take a walk in the park. I was so angry, even walking didn't help me calm down. In the heat of the moment, I opened social media and decided to post about my dad and Dana. The words just poured out because I was so upset and didn't have to think much about what to say. I told everyone in the post about how my dad and mom seemed to be on Dana's side, thinking she deserved our sympathy because of her mom's passing. But the truth was, she was using her mom's death to excuse her own bad behavior, and it was disgusting, but that's what she was doing. She was so good at acting upset that people couldn't see through it. She'd act sad to get sympathy and then do whatever she wanted. And for some reason she was using our parents' sympathy to make my life miserable. I didn't know why, but it was working, and I couldn't take it anymore. After writing it all out, I posted it and then went for a walk to clear my head. I walked for about 2 hours with my phone off, so I didn't know what was happening. When I was done, I headed back home to face whatever was waiting for me. I knew I'd get in trouble for the post, but I didn't expect Dad to threaten to kick me out as soon as I got home. When I walked in, Dad and Dana started yelling at me, demanding to know where I'd been and why I posted what I did. I tried to explain calmly that the post was how I really felt and I couldn't keep living with them. I told Dad I was sick of living with Dana because she was a terrible person and really messy and I hated her. Then Dana started fake crying, probably to get me in more trouble, and it worked. My dad started yelling at me and said I owed Dana a big apology and it had to be public like my post. He said he was ashamed of me and expected better. When I refused to apologize, he said I could either say sorry or leave his house. He wasn't going to tolerate my behavior without consequences. It was frustrating because he was scolding the wrong person. Dana was the one who needed to hear it. So in anger, I told him the house didn't even belong to him. It was Mom's. I wasn't supposed to say that, but I found out by accident. In the first few days after moving into the house, I was going through my mom's things, hoping to find something of mine. That's when I found a deed to the house, but it only had Mom's name on it. I thought it was weird but didn't mention it to anyone because I didn't think it was my business. As long as I had a place to live, I didn't care. I figured they must have talked about it and sorted things out, so I didn't want to interfere. But it slipped out during the fight with my dad, and he seemed surprised. At first my dad denied it and said I was lying. But I told him to check the deed himself if he didn't believe me. It was in his bedroom under lock and key, but he hadn't checked it because he trusted Mom with paperwork and didn't think it was necessary. When I mentioned this, he rushed to his room, and even Dana looked shocked, so she stopped crying. A few minutes later, my dad came out red-faced because what I said was true. He asked how long I'd known, and I said pretty much since we moved in. After that, he stopped arguing with me and went back to his room because this was more important. Even Dana went back to our room. I didn't feel comfortable going back to my room, so I decided to sleep on the couch. I didn't have any back problems, so it was fine. But I didn't get much sleep because a couple of hours after telling my dad about the secret, my mom called and was really mad at me. She said I had no right to reveal something like that without talking to her first. Apparently, I had messed up something important. My mom explained that the house was actually a gift from her parents for her and my dad's anniversary. All the money they spent on the house went into their retirement fund. She planned to tell Dad about it on their second honeymoon, which was coming up in a few months after she finished her work assignment. Mom had been planning this surprise for months. She was going to tell Dad about the house and pay for a vacation to the Greek islands using the money they saved. But I ruined it by revealing the secret. Not only that, but I caused a big fight between my parents. Dad thought Mom should have just told him instead of surprising him. Now Mom had to come back in the middle of a busy week to fix things with Dad because I blabbed about it during a silly fight with my half-sister. Mom also said she was really disappointed in me, and that was the final straw. It was already a terrible day, and it felt like everyone was against me. It's been a couple of days now, and nobody's talking to me. I even deleted the post, but nothing has changed. I still feel like an outcast in my own home. Dad won't even look at me anymore, and Mom hasn't contacted me yet, but I know she's not happy about any of this. I'll probably hear about it when she talks to Dad. Until then, it's just going to be silent in this house, and I'll have to deal with it because it might be my fault. I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened. I had plenty of time to think since things got quiet at home. I feel like things could have been better if I handled them calmly instead of trying to get back at Dana. I don't regret standing up for myself when she ruined my clothes, but I do regret posting about it. That was unnecessary, and I messed up. But considering how I've been treated lately, anyone would have lost their cool. I'm not sure if apologizing now will change anything. Still, I do regret making that post about my dad and half-sister because they were making me share a room with her. Update 1. Hey everyone, I want to say a big thank you for all the supportive comments and messages. I really appreciate it, and it's helped me feel better. Things have improved with my parents too. It's been a week since my post, and a few days later, my mom came back. We decided to have a family meeting to clear the air. It was interesting that we did it when Dana wasn't home. Dad even suggested it. They took a day off work, and when Dana left for work, we talked. It was a bit awkward for me, but I shared my feelings with them, just like I did here. Surprisingly, they understood and said they could see where I was coming from. Then my dad told me that after our big argument, he talked to Dana about some things and realized everything I said was true. He felt like he'd been fooled. Dana had been manipulating him against me. After our fight, he didn't understand what was happening, but she kept making things up. Eventually, he realized I wasn't capable of what she said, and something seemed off. Once he saw she was playing games, he couldn't trust his instincts anymore. He knew he had to talk to us in person. My parents sorted out their issues about the house and retirement fund, so this was the main thing left to discuss. After thinking it over, they decided it was best for Dana to leave. What she did wasn't right. She'd been using her mother's death for something petty, and it wasn't okay. To sum it up, Dana was asked to leave, and she got upset, accusing me of sabotaging her future, which was ironic because that's exactly what she was trying to do. It became clear she was projecting her own actions onto me. I finally understood why she disliked me so much. She was just a terrible person who enjoyed seeing others suffer. Mystery solved. Update 2. Dana has left, but Mom stayed a few extra days. She thinks we need family therapy. She'll join online sessions, and we'll all try to make things better. I'm hopeful this will bring us closer because the past few months have been tough, and I just want things to go back to normal. Update 3. Hi everyone, it's been almost a year since my last update, and I'm excited to share that I'll be starting college in a few weeks. I got accepted into my top choice school, and we're all really happy about it. Mom finished her assignment a couple of months ago and has been living with us since then. It finally feels like we're a perfect family again. Thankfully, we haven't heard from Dana since she left. Therapy has been going well, and overall I feel like everything has fallen into place. I'm incredibly grateful to the universe for this.